cops and the crew over a pursuit. Stu, fill us in. What part of town are you at?
You know, every time I say this is one of those ones that we've just never...
Stu, fill us in. What part of town are you at?
You know, every time I say this is one of those ones that we've just never seen before, and this is another one of those. You see this van right there? That's actually going to be, you can see the door is actually open on that, and he just made a turn onto Sylvan. Is actually right by the courthouse. Now, that's one of those vans. It belongs to some sort of company that transports elderly people or people in some sort of need, and it has been hijacked. That's the way it's been described. Now, somebody is actually inside that, driving that vehicle that should not be, and we don't know if there is somebody in the back seat. That seems to be the big question. It's in the Van Nuys area, and this driver's been driving extremely erratic. We understand it's a female driver. That's the only thing that we've actually heard right now. That door is open, wrong way on many major streets out here. Erratic driving, was actually doing donuts just before Skyfox got overhead of it. Now we're coming back onto Van Nuys Boulevard again. This vehicle apparently stolen and might have somebody inside that back. We're really trying to look right now, but again, you can see it says Golden Age. I'm not sure if it's an elderly home or what the actual place is that this van belongs to. But right now, that driver driving very erratically after taking control of that vehicle. Again, the big question: is there a passenger in there? Is this a kidnapping? What is really going on here this morning?
At least from your vantage point of what we can see right now, it doesn't look like anyone's in the back of that passenger van. It is a small passenger van, as you mentioned, that looks like it's used for transporting maybe senior citizens or those who can't get around. But look at that erratic driving, going the wrong direction sometimes, Stu, and obviously going in circles at this point, looking again, going in the opposite direction of traffic, weaving in and out, looking like picking up speed at some points. And you said a female driver behind the wheel?
That's the only description they're saying right now. Well, there was actually a pedestrian in that crosswalk. That's the only description that they've actually said this morning about who is inside that vehicle. They just said a female driver, blonde, but as a description. But the LAPD, they want to bring this thing to an end. They are very worried about any kind of injuries to anybody on the streets today, and including that suspect behind the wheel. But it is such an erratic driver, and the fact that this is on a very busy street, major busy streets out here in the valley. They keep handing it back off to the helicopter to go back into tracking, but the officers on the ground, they are close by. They want to bring this thing to an end, and the driving doesn't seem to slow down. A lot of times that's what they'll look for. They'll say, oh, you know what, we're going to back off. We're going to put those, whoa, we're going to get those black and whites. We're going to just kind of get them to slow down and drop back, and then maybe that driver will just calm down. But that hasn't happened this morning. A couple of times now we've seen some very close calls. This van continuing on the Van Nuys Boulevard, northbound on Van Nuys. And again, the traffic out here, sporadic. A lot of these folks have no idea what's going on. This van that transports elderly people now driving extremely erratically. And of course, high speeds not adding to any kind of possibility for this to end peacefully without injury. Look at those speeds right there, getting about 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour as we're passing Sherman Way.
You know, I mean, we speculate because we don't know, but part of the reason I'm thinking maybe that door is open is because sometimes with these vans, there's special buttons, and if someone's not really familiar with how to operate the vehicle, that could be a reason why that door is wide open in the back.
Well, whatever the reason is right now, it's not helping that situation. And again, I agree with you. I do not think that there's anybody in the back seat of that van or in any of those seats back there. This driver whipping another U-turn out here on Covello. And we saw this earlier. We didn't see that earlier on. We heard that earlier on. Covello, I'm not sure. I think this is actually a dead end. This actually takes you into the DWP area. I'm not 100% on this being a dead end, but there's a lot of places where this driver can go. We're going to keep an eye on it, of course. LAPD, they're above it. They're making the calls right now, and they have a couple of units, as I understand, nearby. Guess it was not a dead end. They're turning there onto Tyrone. This pursuit continuing. At least they're off of some of those major roads. This doesn't mean that the danger is less by any chance. That van could still careen into anybody out here, taking random turns. So we're going to keep an eye on this. This is the dead end that I was afraid of. Right now, though, kind of gives those LAPD officers an opportunity to do something, but they're going to have to catch up as this van is basically backing up. There they are, right behind it. Hopefully this doesn't turn into some sort of other situation with that erratic driver crashing into officers or ramming that vehicle into those LAPD officers.
And obviously the gate stopping that driver right there. They're at a dead end, and we see some movement.
Don't do that.
Trying to back up.
Don't do that. No,
we see the driver.
The backup lights are off. The backup lights are off, so that's a huge positive. And of course, these officers ready for anything right now. And you can see that the brake lights and the backup lights are off. So hopefully that driver is going to be getting out. We're going to see if we can get Skyfox around to the other side to see if we can get that driver coming out. Hopefully this is coming to an end. But what a crazy couple of moments. Thank goodness there was nobody in the back of that van.
And a lot of close calls as we were watching this suspect driving erratically. And as you mentioned, this is not something you usually see. There you see an arm of, the driver coming out, the suspect, the female suspect, as you were mentioning, Stu.
Yep, the female suspect, that's the only description they gave earlier on, female, blonde-haired female behind the wheel. It does look like she is complying. This coming to an end now out here in the Van Nuys area, and again off of Tyrone near where it dead ends out here. This is a very industrial area, but you can see those officers still not taking any chances. LAPD helicopter still above, but it does look like she is complying. Again, how all this happened, that's going to be some questions that are going to be answered later on, but you can see that van stop now, and of course, like you said earlier on, it doesn't look like anybody's in there. I'm hopeful that there isn't. If it would have been a wild ride for some seniors this afternoon. That suspect going in, following the rules, going into custody, but you can see those officers still not taking any chances. Going to clear that van first, maybe to make sure that there are no seniors inside there. I'm listening to see if they confirm or deny that, but that suspect definitely out of the vehicle on the ground complying with LAPD.
Well, the way this driver was driving, it was just so crazy that we are lucky no one got hurt in the process, going the wrong way, doing these random circles in the middle of an intersection. So this is the best outcome in this situation.
Definitely, it's now coming to an end. You can see that suspect getting cuffed. And again, I understand nobody inside that van. Thank goodness for that. But again, wild ride this morning, and lots of folks in danger. But LAPD, they did that right mix of lights and sirens, keeping the public notified, and also trying to back off, trying to lessen that situation by not being too present for that driver. But that driver never slowing down, even when those officers from LAPD on the ground were not directly behind her. But again, it's just thank goodness this coming to an end. That driver making some poor decisions, lots of them. But the one that brought it to an end might have been the good one when she turned down this dead-end road.
All right, Stu, thank you to you and the crew for staying on top of this and following the wild ride that we were all on. Appreciate it.